let's jump straight into how to take card payments for Pacific to You. You're going to be using a Google Pixel 3a and a Square Up contactless chip reader. So the first thing you want to do is start up the phone by pressing the power button on the side for 3 seconds or 2 seconds, something like that. The phone will start to boot up. As the phone's booting up, go ahead and remove your card reader from its package. You won't need this. This is for later. You'll notice there that there's a number 7 on the card reader. This is the Square Up chip reader, and it has the number 7 on it because it corresponds to the terminal that you're going to be using. So the Google Pixel has the word term 7 on it, and this has the term 7 because you're using multiple terminals to take transactions throughout the day. We don't want to get each other confused. So just make sure you're using the correct terminal or the correct phone with the correct chip reader, and that way you'll always be able to take transactions correctly. Okay, so the first step in getting things set up is to turn on Bluetooth. So the phone is on now. We want to swipe down from the top and make sure Bluetooth is on. If this button on the top right for Bluetooth is not on, go ahead and turn that on by clicking on it. You'll get a highlighted blue, and then you know Bluetooth is enabled. Go ahead and swipe from the bottom and launch the Square app on the bottom left there. This here is Square app. This is what we'll be using to take credit card payments. As we launch Square, we're going to have to do a login first. So you're going to click Launch Square, click the sign in button, and then you're going to provide an email address and a password, and that will be provided to you in a separate email from me. So I won't do that at this point. We'll continue the video as if we had already logged in. But when you get it, you're going to log in. Oops, there we go. Okay, so once Square launches, then what we want to do is we want to go and make sure that we pair the Bluetooth for the chip reader and the phone so it can take payments. So what you'll notice here is on the bottom right, there's a button that says More. You want to click on More, click on Settings, click on Hardware, click on Square Reader, and you're going to click the word Connect Reader. Now, as I click the button Connect Reader, I'm going to have to turn the reader on and put it in a pairing mode. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this button Connect Reader, and then I'm going to hold down the power button here. If you notice here, there's a power button. I'm going to hold it down for about 5 seconds until I get 4 blinking orange lights, and then I'm going to let go. Now you'll notice that the phone is now pairing with the contactless chip reader. I'm going to say pair and connect up here and accept that. And then here I'm not going to click anything. I'm just going to click the word pair. Now the phone is going to complete pairing. You've got 4 green lights that you saw over here, and that's completed. It's paired. Now we do need to do another thing, which is enable the NFC feature on the phone so it can take wireless payments like Android and Apple Pay. So you're just going to click the OK button. Sometimes the microphone and the other things need to be enabled, and it will prompt you and ask you to enable those, and just go ahead and say yes, you can enable all of those things so that we can process payments. So at this point, you've completed the first step, getting the phone set up and getting it connected with Bluetooth so that you can take payments. Okay, the next step is learning how to take an actual payment using a chip card. So we'll talk about the different types of cards that you can accept. In this case, we're going to talk about a chip card, which is a card that has a small microchip on it like this, which is the most common and the only one that we accept nowadays. So it has a chip like that, or it looks like that. So you'll see the chip on there, and that's the type that you're going to dip in there. So for example, we're going to run a transaction so you can see how to do that. In this case, you're going back to the Square app. And as I'm looking at the Square app, there are 3 different options at the top. You have keypad, library, and favorites. And those are different screens that we can use to process payments. For the purpose of what we do, I'm going to ask you to use the favorites, or under library, there's something called graduation POS. And this gives me a line item version of what we saw over in the favorites section. So as far as training, let me take you through the first one, which is if I click on favorites, we've added these items here in a tile format, so you can just click on the item and it adds it to their shopping cart when they want to check out. So the customer comes up, for example, let's say they wanted one 6-stem rose bouquet, and they wanted a small graduation bear. I clicked on those two items, and under here it says review sale. There are two items. I'm going to click on review sale to follow up and see what the customers got, what they wanted. Yep, I've got one 6-stem rose bouquet. I've got a small grad bear for a total of $30. So it'll give you your total here at the bottom so that you can confirm with the customer or with yourself before you're going to process the transaction that you're going to bill them the correct amount and for the correct items that they're taking. So this is what you'll do at this point on the screen. At this point, the customer will hand you their card. You'll take their card and your chip reader, and you're just going to insert the card with the magnetic strip down, meaning the chip side up. And so I'm going to, actually what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually click this charge button first, and then you'll notice that the card reader has a green light on it, so it's ready to receive the payment. So here we go. At this point, I'm going to dip the chip in there. It's going to process payment. It was approved. Now, at this point, you're going to remove the card because it says, please remove the card. I'm going to hand that back to the customer so they don't lose their card. And then I'm going to continue with the transaction. The transaction is not actually complete yet. So what you're going to do at this point is you're going to offer them an option for a receipt. Now, we don't offer the option for email receipts unless they really, really want it. But in this case, we don't even offer it. We offer them two options, the text receipt or no receipt. And with the text receipt, all you would do is just click on the button that says text receipt. In this case, and in many cases, someone's email or phone number will already be populated in those fields. So for example, let me go back for a second. Under email, you might see an email already populated there. Under text, you might see a phone number already populated there, like it is in this case. And that just means the customer purchased something at another location using Square, and they have their phone number from having purchased something else somewhere else. So it's just the only reason that we know that is because of that. So you can click that. If they say no receipt, then you just click no receipt. In this case, I'm going to give them a receipt. I'm going to click text receipt. Since the phone number is already there, I'm not even going to ask them. I'm just going to automatically send them a receipt. And I'll just click send. If the phone number is not there, you can ask the customer if they'd like you to give them a receipt. Put in their phone number, click send receipt, and then the transaction is done. I've got a circle with a check mark. I know this transaction is complete, and I'm going to click new sale, and now you've completed a dip chip sale, a basic sale with someone. Now just remember, we only accept those dip chips, Android and Apple Pay. We do not swipe cards. So if they have a card that does not have a chip, we do not accept those types of payments. All right, I'm going to take you through the next type of payment, which is a contactless or wireless type of payment, where the card is enabled with a wireless capability to take payment. So in this case, if you notice on this card, for example, there's a picture of a wireless icon there. And everyone's bank card will have that picture on it if it is wireless capable or enabled, and that's how you'll know it. You'll see that on their card, and you'll know that you don't need to dip the chip, that you can just run it as a payment and dip and tap it. It's basically a tap ability. So let's run a transaction that way. For example, let's go ahead and and I'm going to give you a different way to do it as well. So I'm going to, instead of being on favorites, let's pretend you wanted to go to library and you want to go to graduation POS. Now this group here, this green graduation POS, is going to have all the items you need to process transactions for the things that you're selling that day. So in this case, I've got these items here. Let's pick an eyelash lay. An eyelash lay for $20. The customer says they want it. Okay, I'm going to click review sale. I'm going to click charge. Now they've handed me a card that has a wireless chip. In this case, I don't need to dip the chip inside the bottom like we've done in the past. All I have to do is take the portion of the card where that icon is and match it up to the one on the chip reader and just tap it on top of it. And you see that? And then it processed it. And there we go. It was just that easy. So now you have the option again. I'm going to just say no receipt in this example, and your transaction's complete. Okay, let's talk about the last type of payment, which is a contactless payment using Apple Pay or Android Pay. So that's very simple, and it works the same way that we did with the card. So for example, I have a phone here. I'm not actually going to process the transaction. I'm just going to show you what it would look like. So for example, if the customer said they wanted an orchid lei, I'm going to click review sale. I'm going to click charge. Now you'll notice here that there is an option here, card on file, gift card, and cash app pay. At this point, the reader is ready. And so if the person enables their NFC or their Apple Pay, all they need to do is put their phone and tap their phone like that, and it's going to recognize it. So in this case, it recognized it, but we're not actually processing because I'm not set up. But it looks something like that, where you have Google Pay, Android Pay, Apple Pay. You just swipe it over and it will, or tap it. You don't even really need to touch it, but if you just come close to it or come close to tapping it like that, then you'll be able to process payment. And that's all right. The very last payment type that we didn't talk about that we will now is Cash App. So Cash App works a lot like or very similar to Apple Pay and Android Pay. However, if you'll notice when we're looking at the screen here, for example, if I clicked an item and I click review sale and I click charge, at this point, if they want to use their Cash App, I'm going to click on the Cash App Pay here. Okay? And it's going to give them a QR code. They're going to launch their Cash App on their phone or device, and they're going to hover over this, and it's going to immediately recognize it and process the transaction for you. So they're actually going to take their camera and they're going to hover over this, and that's going to process the transaction, and that'll complete just like the other transactions, and you're done. You just offer the receipt option. At that point, you'll see the check mark and the circle, and you're complete, and you just click New Sale. Okay, now that we've completed how to process transactions, I just want to show you a quick tip on how to verify a transaction. If you were concerned and something didn't process quite like the training or something doesn't look right, you can click down at the bottom and you can see transactions. You can look back through and try to find the one that it would have happened immediately, so you're going to try to find the one that matches up with what you just saw, and you're going to click on it, and then you're just going to match up the card payment, and you're going to see if it was issued, and if the last four digits of the credit card match the credit card that you handed to the customer, you can ask them for those last four or ask them to see the card and look at it again. That's one way to do that. You can also issue a receipt or a refund this way. So if something happens and you need to issue a receipt and it didn't do it the first time and they want one sent to a different phone number or email, for example, if they really want that, then you can do that from here. You can find their transaction and you can just click on issue a new receipt. You can also issue a refund if the person changes their mind and wants to do a return. Get permission from the supervisor or the manager on site, and then you can go ahead and process and issue a refund to that customer. Just make sure you match up again the last four digits of the credit card with the actual credit card that they gave you. And that would be how you could process either a receipt or a refund. And that again is under here, transactions. Okay, when you're done with that and you want to go back to checkout, checkout is how you continue to process transactions so you can take more orders. So you can always get back to here. If you get on the wrong screen, just exit out wherever you are and go back to checkout and to favorites, and then you'll be able to do that. One last thing I just want to mention, if you're processing a card payment and it says denied, or you get a triangle with an exclamation or a red triangle or something that says the card is denied or cannot process, that means that the transaction did not go through and that card is not valid currently or possibly could be locked. People travel sometimes and the card gets locked as a security feature by the credit card companies. So just be aware and just let the customer know, hey, the card is locked temporarily. I cannot process the transaction until the bank opens it up. You're welcome to try it twice. After twice, do not process the card anymore. Let them know that they need to provide a different card or a different method of payment for you to be able to complete the transaction. But just remember, don't give them the product unless they have an actual card that went through the whole process, asked for a receipt, and you gave one of those options and got a circle with a check mark at the very end, and that lets you know that the transaction was complete and we were paid for products that they're going to receive. Okay, let's get into it. How to take cash payments. You've already got your terminal set up at this point. So to take a cash transaction, you're just going to use the phone and the app on the phone. You won't need to do anything with the card reader at this point when you're doing a cash transaction. So as someone comes up, let's pretend someone says they want one orchid lei. You're going to do just like with another transaction. You're going to add it to their cart. You're going to say review sale. Okay, there's the total amount that the customer owes you. You're going to let the customer know. In this example, the customer, let's say they hand us a $50 bill. Say, okay, great, Mr. Customer, I'm going to leave your $50 bill right here. The total is $30. You're going to click the word charge. Now on the charge option, the very last option is cash. Press the cash option. It's going to say the word tendered, meaning how much money did the customer tender or give you. And so you're going to put the total amount, which was $50. Make sure you get your total amount there of $50. Click the blue tender button and it'll auto calculate the change for you. $20 change out of $50. So then you're going to go and you're going to grab your change from the for the customer, $10, $20. I'm going to take the 50. Here you are, Mr. Customer. There's your $20 in change. And when that's complete and money's been exchanged, then you continue with the next and last step, which is the receipt. In this case, and in 99% of the cases working for specific to you and working for me and doing this, you're going to click no receipt on cash transactions. So in this case, you're just going to click no receipt. There is an option they can do an email or text receipt, but we do not want to offer that as an option. If the customer really wants one or asks you for one, then you're welcome to provide one. But in the case that we do every time for a cash transaction is going to be no receipt. So I'm going to click no receipt, and then I'm going to see my circle with a check mark, which means the transaction is complete, and just click new sale, and then you're ready to go for your next cash or card transaction.